Hello, I am Mark from First Baptist Church, and joining me today is Sharon Loewen. Hi, Sharon. How are you?
Hello, Mark. I'm
S-
great.
Good. So, you are very significantly involved in a program called Days for Girls. What is that program and what's it all about?
Okay, it's not a summer camp because some people think that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
actually a worldwide nonprofit group looking at menstrual health solutions. Duh, what does that all mean? Basically, there's two arms of the organizations. We're a volunteer arm, and there's 1,000 teams and chapters all over the world, and we're just one little part of that. The other part is this called the enterprise system, and the enterprises are actually local women who are employed and provides education and on menstrual health to their local communities. And so they are a business. We are volunteers. So we try to work together.
Okay. Very good. Um, so, what would some of your work with that look like in your local chapter?
Well, we spend an awful lot of time sewing kits. So probably you should explain what is in a kit. And there's a little video that will help explain that.
So what is the Days for Girls kit? Let's get rid of the mystery right now. Here's how we would send the kit, and let's open it up. It's a drawstring bag made out of fabric with our little logo on it that girls can use as a school bag. Inside, this is what we pack. There's an instruction card for how to use the kit. And there's a way to keep track of your cycle. That's all part of the education. And this is the main part. This is the shield with a liner. We provide a bar of soap. This is what we sew. And this is the flannelette part inside that generally unfolds as a little square. So this is the absorbent part. And this is the part we call the shield. It's got a waterproof, breathable lining in here. We also package another one, just tidy like this, so people know this how it can be carried around. There's 5 additional little squares of fabric for the liners to use during your period. 2 pairs of underwear, and a washcloth. And with this kit, a girl is good to go for 2 to 4 years, depending with good care. So how is it used? The shield and liner are put like this. It's just popped into a pair of underwear. With the absorbent side up, and we're good to go. This little kit was all packed in this little bag, which we refer to as the transport bag, but it's special because it is made with a waterproof lining, just like a dry bag for swimsuits or diapers. And so the girl's able to use this to put her soiled liners inside and keep them ready to go till she's able to go home and to wash them. So this is called the transport bag. We used to send Ziploc bags, but in many countries there's plastic bag bans. So this is now the 12th piece of sewing that goes into our Days for Girls sewn kits. The other thing that we are allowed to distribute more locally for women that this other washable kit might not be suitable for is called a hybrid kit. And what this includes is the familiar shield and liner all tucked together, and something else. This is called a menstrual cup. This has been around since the 1930s, I think is when it was developed. And this little cup is inserted and collects the flow and is emptied by a woman maybe every 12 hours. This means there's no waste, and this little cup can last for up to 8 years. So this is a great solution for some women that find that acceptable, and we are able to bring some of them in, as well as this little cup, which is the wash cup, so that it can be stored and washed in between cycles. So the menstrual cup is a great option for many women.
Worldwide, 2.2 million kits have been distributed. And locally, with our Lethbridge chapter, we have now done 6,234 kits, which is just from the very tail end of 2015. So I'm really proud. How many volunteers do we have? I don't know exactly. We have 2 condominiums that sew. I would say dozens that have come and gone, and which we've continued to sew over the time of the pandemic as well. So people sew at their leisure when they have time in their own sewing space.
Very good. Now, one of the things I used to enjoy in our church on Mondays is I used to enjoy walking down to the West Wing and seeing your army of people working away down there, making kits, being taught, being shown how to make these kits on their own time or with another chapter. And so that's not been happening for a while. COVID has obviously caused some very big interruptions. What has this meant for Days for Girls, and how have you adjusted?
We've done our best. I sure miss those drop-in days. So we moved outside and did some table work outside for a while. That's okay when the weather's good. Then
Yeah.
we did curbside pick up and drop off. That worked okay. I send an email, say, hey, we're going to be at our usual space. Now I've moved to my front porch pickup. So people will drop off their sewing. And if they say, hey, Sharon, I need flannel, I'll have that ready for their pickup. So we do it safely and at a distance at my door. So we've transitioned to 414 25th Street South.
Yes. And I've really appreciated to hear that so many have continued on. I mean, part of the enjoyment of this, I think there was a social aspect to it of doing something together. And people still seem to have carried that same spirit on in what they've been doing on their own time as well. So
That's exactly true. We continue to sew. I've continued to amass materials at the church. We had to do an inventory in January, and we have enough sewing components for 500 kits that we could provide when we are finally able to get together and pack. So that's a lot of sewing that's been happening.
mhm, that's excellent. So what is next for Days for Girls chapter in Lethbridge?
Well, we've continued to try to set up some local partnerships. Just last week, I met with the gal at the Interfaith Food Bank so that they can provide our kits or menstrual cups available for the clients that use those services. So we'll continue with that. We're trying to partner with teachers in the school system, the District 51, or through the teachers convention. So we've reached out, and if people want for families of their students or for students or to sample to see what the Days for Girls system is like, we've been able to provide some free samples. So we're trying to continue to make community partnerships. More in Canada, it's more period poverty, where it is just expensive to buy disposables, or from an environmental point of view, it's a lot of waste. So there's another generation coming up looking for alternatives. So we've worked with Environment Lethbridge, provided a couple of sewing events so that people can say, hey, I want to do my part for the environment. So we'll continue to reach out with those possibilities and get distributing kits as we're able to.
That's excellent. Well, I have always appreciated your ability to mobilize and empower people to do things, and that's obviously been the case with Days for Girls. It's been excellent to see this program grow in our city, in our church, and just in all kinds of places. So we're very excited for that. If people want to get a hold of you to find out more, what's the best way to do so?
Well, yeah, I'll give you a little photo of my business card. And so if they're interested for a kit for themselves or for a family member, or hey, maybe they just enjoy sewing or would like to help with some of the education that goes along with things, they could just contact me through our email. We also have a Facebook page as well. I included a picture because sometimes we get really stuck on what's happening in our little local area. There's a funny little building that's a picture. And in Nepal, there's a situation called Chapati, which is a historical thing, which is now outlawed. But when girls had their period, they were separated from their family and they'd have to go live in these little sheds that are barely tall enough to work in. One woman who was interviewed had all 7 of her children in these little sheds. So for the duration of their period, they're stuck out. So they sometimes die of hypothermia, insects bites, animal attacks, all kinds of things like that. So it's a really dire situation in some places. So I really appreciate that Days for Girls is on the ground with education and solutions so that there can be a very big change in that trajectory. So I'm really, really proud and really glad. One of the things that's happening with Days for Girls, there's a much more international where local women meet the needs of local girls and provide the education on a worldwide global call. They were saying foreigners cannot deliver the education in the way a local person, and local girls need to see people like them giving the education. So you will notice on a world map where it's color coded. And if there's a country that's red, That means the Days for Girls enterprise is strong and able to meet local needs. So I can't go sending kits over to Uganda because women in Uganda are making their own kits. So that's a don't send kits there. If it's an orange country, there's enterprises that are starting and up and coming. So maybe they need some help, but most of the world is blue. And if you're blue, go ahead and send the kits as volunteers. So that's interesting that the enterprise where empowering local women is really a growing part of Days for Girls. He said one day maybe the volunteers will be redundant. So until we're all redundant, we'll support and we'll continue to sow. But it's an interesting growing phenomena. 2.2 kits distributed worldwide. That's awesome since just 2008.
Yeah, that's great. That is excellent. So Sharon, you sent me a picture from Kenya. Can you give us some context of what is going on in this picture?
I sure can. This was shared by Celeste Mergens, the founder of the organization. And this happened in Kenya, I believe maybe in 2018, not very long ago. A young girl was in school, she had her period, and her clothing were stained, and her teacher, humiliated, called her out on that and sent her home. So the girl came home, her mom said, hey, you need to get washed up. Here's a bucket, go get some water out of the well. But the girl was so overcome with shame that she took her life and she died. Celeste Mergens, the founder, said, I felt so badly. I wanted to go to Kenya and support and try to educate. She says, I just couldn't go. The Days for Girls had a center right there. A Kenyan woman went immediately out to that school population and was able to take it as an education point. And so that's the sign saying with boys and men also, we all have to be part. There was the red line drawn. We are not going to have menstrual shame, take the lives of people and humiliate girls, that this is a normal part. So that was just part of action on the ground that's making a really big change, and the message is resonating throughout. So tragic situation, but some really hopeful change from there. The Days for Girls locally was at the front of it, and that was an enterprise operation.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, Sharon. Like I said, we really appreciate your work with this and how it's brought so many people on board and taught them about the world, but also given them the tools to do something about it. So.
It's an absolute privilege. I'm always happy to chat with anybody that has concerns, and we can provide for local women too. So if you're interested in the menstrual cup solutions or just trying out the washable system we have, feel free to drop me a line or give me a call. More than happy to do that.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Sharon.
No problem. Take care.